Alrighty. Emma, welcome to the Own Your Truth podcast. As you know, this is an adults podcast, so you can say whatever the fuck you want. It's all good. Um, speak freely, be you. Something you shared with me in the pre-interview chat was how hard it is to show up as yourself, especially on social media. When you described for me what it was like for you, I listened to what you said, and I just felt so seen and so heard. So, with your permission, I would love to share what you said for me because I transcribed it. I was so impressed by it. So, I'm, I'm going to read it to the listeners. Here's what you shared. It is incredibly hard to show up as yourself on social media because you're making yourself a target. Not everyone is going to like how you show up. For everyone that loves you, there's someone who thinks you're a fucking prat. It's incredibly difficult, and I feel like a fraud all the time. I don't feel like my ideas are revolutionary, and I find it very difficult to sit down at the page and come up with something amazing that people are going to love. But somehow I keep doing it. But I don't know how. The stress and the pressure that it puts on has the potential to ruin the creative joy inherent in the job. And there's so many times I've ruined it for myself by obsessing, stressing, and fretting about not living up, you ready for this? To the egregore that has been created of me and the collective consciousness on LinkedIn and across social media. When you think about your journey of pushing through all of the stress and the pressure and the expectations, is there a deeper why or reason that keeps you grounded and actually helps you to navigate this egregore?
What keeps me? I think it is a determination to enjoy the career I have created for myself. The reason I went freelance is because I had had a string of awful, toxic bosses. And to be fair, the very last boss I had before going freelance was lovely. I loved her. But I recognized the need to go out and have autonomy because I was far too comfortable following orders and executing other people's ideas. And I was like, the biggest challenge for me would be to go and make something new and have courage in that creation enough to promote it, and market it and all that. And so when I didn't go freelance to be a horrible boss or to do something I hated. And so now I'm like, no, this is why we came here, like to make cool shit, to like do what you want to do, to build a business that really makes you excited to get up and it's that determination that I have. I will not scare myself away from the job I love. I can't. It's ludicrous. It's like you either give in to your own neurotic inner voice or you get over it. Like there is,
there's
no other way. So I'm saying, like, what's the alternative? You've got no choice. Get on with it. You will enjoy it.
Reaching that point where you can't go back. I'm actually curious, when you first decided to make that leap into freelancing, what were some of the pivotal, or maybe one lesson that you took from the beginning, that initial leap phase, and you were like, okay, this is hard, but I got this? Was there a lesson that comes to mind or a story from those beginning stages?
I didn't really give myself the option to fail, to be honest. I had already been building up to going freelance for 6 months because my employer, I handed in my notice and they tried to refuse it. And so they were like, no, I don't accept this. And I was like, I feel like legally, I think you kind of have to.
You kind of have to.
So we kind of haggled out a deal where I would kind of work until the end of the year and then that I would go with their blessing, which now I look back on it, I'm like, that's just another pushover thing that I ended up doing that I didn't need to do. But in a way, it was
Got it.
nice because it gave me the opportunity to trial freelancing in my free time,
Hmm.
knowing that if I hated it, I could always go to my employer and be like, oh, you know that resignation I handed in? Well, actually, I take, and that they would be more than happy to cancel
Mm.
it. So
Yes.
I built up a financial cushion before I even went freelance, did a ton of research, um, really made sure I was mentally prepared, that I had all of the bits in place that I would need so that when I finally launched, it wouldn't be starting from zero, which really helped me overcome any kind of nerves or anything because I had a website, I knew what I was doing, I knew where I was looking for clients, I had a plan, and then I
Mm.
was just cold pitching relentlessly, because I my husband had put his trust in me as well to make a
Mm.
success of this, and I am the type of person where I can envisage the end goal. I know exactly how it's going to be. So I'm like, no, 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 I know how it's going to be. Like I'm going to
Yeah.
get there. Like, don't worry. So I was very, very driven in those days. So from a business mindset perspective, I didn't have a problem because I've always been very
Mm.
organized, very strict with myself, very regimented. I don't have a problem with things like that. I had a clear idea of how I wanted to show up as a
Mm.
freelancer, and I had a clear business plan, so I knew where I was at. I think for me, the biggest challenge was my mental health. I went freelance because, for many reasons, but one of the biggest ones is that I was suffering quite badly with an eating disorder. And
Mm.
it was so obvious to everyone at my work, to the point where my boss was like, I
Mm.
am going to sit with you at lunchtimes and we will eat together so I can see. And I was like, at this point, my boss has become my mum, and
Mm.
it's humiliating. I need to go away and have time and space to get therapy and to go into recovery and to do that privately. So
Mm.
I was navigating the therapy process and beginning that for the very first time, which is horrible, absolutely horrible.
Yep.
But then also in an incredibly tempting environment where I wasn't being supervised and was completely alone all day, every day, with an immense pressure on myself, which is one of the triggers that causes me to go to that comfort of
Mm.
restriction and regimented eating. Like I said, I'm really good at like regimented planning, and so
Mm.
it got a lot worse before it got better. And that was the first year journey of my freelance life, was trying to not totally crash out. And I think I did, after about 3 months of working relentlessly and completely abusing myself because I had the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
I got so ill that I couldn't get out of bed. And then I
Wow.
was like, okay, this is it. Like, something needs to change now. And then I began building back up and kind of building healthier habits, and moving from there. But yeah, so from a business perspective, I was fine. When it
Mm.
comes to being a taskmaster, I've got no problems. But
Yeah.
mental health wise, there was a hell of a lot to get through and go through, because you can't really, I mean, as we've said, if you've got those issues with yourself, and
Mm.
it is difficult to show up
Yeah.
as a business person if you don't feel sure of yourself. People can tell, and then they don't want to hire you because you look like you don't really believe what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. I just want to thank you, one, for sharing that. I mean, I'm just thinking about putting myself in your shoes, trying to navigate that in tandem with starting your business from scratch. That is quite a bit. When you were starting, if there's something we could dive into quickly, what came up for me as a question is, one, the journey of finding the right fit for therapy. in and of itself can be its own mental health journey, because you're vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there to find the right fit. When you reflect back on just the journey of asking for help and trying to find that right person, what was it for you when you finally were able to get clarity and be like, all right, this is my person, I think this is going to be a good fit? Was that a challenge finding the person, or was it sort of an instant?
No, I got really, really lucky actually. I
Yeah.
found someone relatively local to me who specialized in eating disorders, but she's also, her therapy and counseling approach was very tied to spirituality as well. So
Mm,
her, the room that we would use, that was in her house by the way,
mm.
had all these crystals everywhere, and you know, statues of deities and like little sun catchers in the window. And I was like, okay, this is totally my speed. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town near Brighton on the south coast of England, which is very kind of hippy dippy,
Mm.
um very new age. So instantly, and so as part of the process, like in tandem with actually, you know, using recognized systems of therapy, she was saying, do you want to try energy tapping? Perhaps we could do a meditation based on this. Let's pull a card and do that. So it was all stuff that I would naturally go to help myself, like tools that I would use as part of my spiritual practice anyway, on top of therapy, which really gave me an easy way into something which was unfamiliar.
I think that's beautiful. Finding that comfort, the fit so quickly is like, one, I'm glad that happened for you, because it getting settled
I know it
into
doesn't
the
happen
treatment
for
process.
everyone.
No, it's very rare actually. Um, Something that you shared with me during our initial chat, which was anxiety is just creative thinking with no outlet.
Yeah, I think I
And
stole that from someone. I know I've heard
let's
it before, and I was like,
that we'll find who said it. But honestly, when you said that to me, I think it was maybe my ears were very open to receive that, because I think a lot of what creative thinking is for me is I can tend to perpetuate worst case scenarios. And we talked about this idea of you really not being a believer that imposter syndrome exists. But, and this is what you said, I do think that anxiety is just creative thinking with no outlet, because you're spending all of your creative energy potentializing all of the worst case outcomes while not even thinking about the equal opportunity for it to be amazing. People are going to hate you as much as they're going to love you, but you have to just do it because there's no other way to be. Within your journey, um, and this from the beginning to current, did you ever experience a moment in your creative journey where you taking that deep dive into the dark side actually unlocked a new opportunity or moment of clarity for you?
what, me postulating the
Yes.
worst possible outcome?
Yes. Did any
Hmm.
good come from that?
I can't think of a single instance, but I think this goes back to, I don't know who wrote the book. I think it's Playing Big by Tara Moore. I think she
Mm,
says in that when you have that, that is just you protecting yourself
mm,
and just being like, hey, hun, no, maybe don't go there. Like, they might bully you in that, and we don't want that again. Because remember when last time that happened, it didn't feel good, and we don't want to feel like that
mm.
again. So maybe, and it just a process of saying like, oh, or maybe actually it was Elizabeth Gilbert, um,
Okay.
Big Magic,
That sounds familiar.
Big Magic. It was one of those two fabulous
Okay.
women said it,
Okay.
and just being like, I hear you, but that's not helpful to me right now. And you can come
Yeah.
along for the ride, but you don't get to sit in the passenger seat for the journey. Like, I appreciate that you're trying to keep me safe, but you don't need to be here.
Oh, that experience of actually finding out whether, look, this is the way I phrase it. It's like there's two kinds of fear: the kind that keeps you safe and the kind that keeps you stuck. And I think
To me, they're
tuning
one
in,
in the same, I think.
yeah, what? for you, when you think about this in terms of your creative journey, moving through that fear, there's growth at the other side of it. And I think this is something we talked about a lot of. For me, it's this need to justify my existence within the business world, the creative world, the branding world. And a lot of what comes up for me is this fear, and something you shared with me. I think it was about like a TikTok video that was going viral a little bit. You're like, please stop watching it.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I
want to be
have
perceived.
I've had those thoughts like in that way. So I find it's like an unconscious thing that I do play small. Um, Something you shared with me during our witching hour conversation, if I can give you props really quickly, was that we spent an hour diving into this, and I told you all of the things I was doing, and you were like, "Mate, what are you doing? Like, focus. Just these things are
Do
distracting you
one
from.
thing. Do
Just
one
do
thing.
one thing, right?" But I think I needed to hear from someone who wasn't me or a colleague or someone that had an inherent bias. And I think you nailed it. Um, because I realized after our conversation, yeah, I am doing all of this stuff. What would it look like if I actually just went all in on the one thing? Do you feel like at this stage of your career and where you're at, that you are honoring that you yourself have gotten to the point where you're like, I feel like I'm going all in on the one thing and everything is sort of, I'm on the path. Do you feel like you're there?
Hmm. I feel like I'm there sometimes.
Mm,
But the one thing, the things that really bring me joy in my job that I love to do are not the things that earn money. So, or not a lot of money anyway. For example, journalism is one of my great loves. It always has been. I love writing, I love journalism, but the rates, if you can get a paid job, are
yeah.
abysmal. It's not money you can live on
Yep.
at all. And usually the stuff I'm writing about is so incredibly niche, like metal exploitation horror films, or the 15 different metal submetal genres that you've never heard of before, like dino metal and pirate metal and stuff. And
Oh man.
the kinds of things that just there's only really one publication that wants them, and luckily it's one of the biggest ones in the scene. But
That's
it's
awesome.
not it's not a skill that I get to bring out very often, like my
Yeah.
my niche knowledge about 80s metal exploitation horror is not useful in many ways in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the other part of my career, I am just doing retainers that pay the bills. It's not necessarily very sexy stuff, but it's writing, which is great, and there's a degree of creativity in all of that. So I think I like to manage my expectations, because I have the potential to become the petulant child of my own career when I only ever want to work on things that are fun and that I want to do, and not on the
Yep.
actual sensible things that earn money.
Mm,
Like, for example, my niche is probably one of the most unprofitable niches, when I could be moving to finance or tech or fintech and be earning a
mm,
hell of a lot more than I currently am, and have more
mm.
job opportunities available to me. But I don't want to. I
Yeah.
hate it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be miserable every day writing about tech. Oh my god, I'd rather die. No thanks.
Look,
No
I mean,
thanks.
I can't, I feel like so much of what this journey is that balance between, for me at least, purpose and profit. You know, like I think at this stage of my career, I'm curious to get your opinion on this, is for me, a big reason that I feel like I used to be stuck. A lot of it was self sabotage and overthinking and fear. And honestly, it's a fear of success. Really. Um, this is something you shared with me, and the way you described it deeply resonated, because this is something I would love to read. Is this okay? These are your words, but I'll try to like
Yeah, go for it.
I'll try to summarize it. Sometimes people like having like their stuff read back, but for me, it's how I conceptualize the question. Um, if I could do anything, I would take away my fear of success because imagine all of the things I could do if I wasn't so scared of being given the opportunities that I wanted to have. Ooh. If I could just have those opportunities and enjoy them without thinking about how the world would receive that or whether or not it was good enough for me as well as anyone else. And the last thing, there's a lot more, but I'll cap it here. Imagine how wonderful it would be when I'm creating privately for myself, whether that be collage art or the things I do in my file effects journal. These are the things that, by the way, people on YouTube just eat up. When I'm doing that, I can be creatively free. So when you think about the things that you do right now where you feel that creative freedom, is there a moment where that creative freedom and income align for you? And is it just consistent or incredibly rare?
There are some instances where it does, but they they're often unexpected. So, for example, I made an ebook years ago. I think probably like 4 years ago, called The Witchy Freelancer, and it just costs £3 and you can just download a PDF. And I designed it all myself and wrote the whole thing as like, fun ways that you can be a bit witchy in your freelance life, just candle magic and like tea recipes and tarot card spreads, just fun stuff for people that aren't heavily into that stuff, explaining it and like and what it is and how they can use it, just like a fun thing that I just did because I wanted to. That, and also my newsletter, the Copy Coven, which is just a monthly thing with a little bit of creative inspiration, and there's a tarot card, and then sorry, just all stuff like that I've done because I wanted to. I have had opportunities off of the back of that. For example, I've just finished a 1-year stint as the music editor at Witchology magazine because they were looking for somebody to come and take control of the music side of the magazine that they wanted to get, they wanted to develop it a bit more. And there was nobody else that had a reputation for being witchy, but also had actual music journalism chops and had been working as a music journalist for a music publication. So in that sense, doing my own creative project gave proof that I was a fit for that particular job. So in rare instances like that, it does kind of align. Or I used to write for an online publication called Harpy magazine, and I'd written an article. In fact, actually, this is Harpy's done wonders for me because I was writing for free for them, just topics that were really kind of getting under my skin, and I was like, I need to get these written as art. I need to get them out into the world. Yeah. One of them was about how there's no such thing as female-fronted metal. It's just metal. Oh. It's just metal. And I wrote that for them. And then my very first pitch to Metal Hammer magazine, they didn't want the article I'd pitched, but they'd clearly gone off to research me to make sure I could actually write. And that's what they found. And they said, we don't want the pitch, but we want our own version of this. Could you write this, but for us? And I was like, hold my beer. Hold my beer. I'll do it. And then another article that I'd written for Harpy about why women are obsessed with serial killers, why they romanticize them. I wrote that at the same time the Ted Bundy film with Zac Efron was coming out. Yeah. And it was just hot off the back of that. They'd just done that film about Jeffrey Dahmer that had that kid from the Disney Channel in it, and everyone was romancing about it. And And on Tumblr, there's all of these kind of photo montages of the Columbine shooters and girls
Yeah.
being like, oh, imagine if he liked you. And I was just like, we've gone
Why?
insane.
Yeah.
We've gone insane. So I wrote this article trying to unpick why this happens. And I'm not kidding. That I wrote that probably 6 years ago. Last
Wow.
year, a documentary team reached out to me to be a talking head in a TV show in Atlanta, being the person talking about why women want to marry men on death row. And I had to obviously go
Wow.
back to them and say, I'm not an expert. I don't, I'm not in love with serial killers. I don't, like, I'm not an expert. I wrote something once, like 6 years ago. I'm going to have to, pass up the opportunity. I'm not a fit for it. But just as an example, the things that I did for myself for fun, for free, have eventually come back to me as opportunities. So I think that aside from the creative joy of just doing them, because I think the more creative you are, the more creative you become.
Mm.
If you are showing your interests and your skills all the time publicly, you can create a reputation for yourself, and then opportunities come up off of the back of that.
Oh, that's so true, but I think so hard for, I'll speak for myself, for so many of us to actually honor that. Like, again, it goes back to me feeling the need to justify it. But take me out of the equation. Before we dive down to the next batch of questions, share one insight about why women are, from the studies and the research, like, and your article, what is it about the serial killer? Because I get this. My wife and I, like, will chill on the couch and relax with a murder documentary. But, like, in general, was there an insight that you discovered through your research and just like the article that you were writing? Like, what is the attraction there? Were you able to find some insight into that?
I did find some, yeah. There's a professor of criminology that used to be at Liverpool University. I think his name is Professor Brian Wilson. I can't remember.
Hmm.
But he's like very well known here in the UK, and he's usually the expert that they use in anything that the BBC's doing or whatever.
Okay.
And I saw him doing one of those YouTube videos where they answer the questions in the box, like the secrecy box or something. So
Yep.
if you do watch a lot of YouTube and you're interested, go find that, because his one is really
Okay.
good. And
Make a
he
note.
said that women are interested in kind of marrying men on death row because they represent a safe man. They don't have to live with that man. He's behind bars. He's being monitored. All of your interactions are very, very safe, very, very sanitary. You get to experience a taste of that danger without actually having to commit to a lifetime of it
Mm.
privately. But also, women are very, because we are the primary victim,
Yeah.
watching a lot of true crime helps us figure out the modus operandi of like who's going to be coming after us, like all of the various
Wow.
situations, how people got away, what happened to them. We're learning how to stay alive.
Wow.
um but then also I think that there's that, it speaks a lot to fantasy, doesn't it? You get to model
Mm.
scenarios in the safety of your mind. It's
Mm.
free. You get to kind of indulge that curiosity within the safety of the parameters of your own mind. And also, I think some women who come from abusive backgrounds, that's all they know.
Yeah.
So when they
Wow.
see violent behavior, they don't look at that and think, oh, that's danger. They think, oh, that's what love looks like, So I think there's lots of
Yes.
different reasons depending on the situation and the woman. And yeah.
I love that I mean, you've written and done all these different things. You've honored your creative gifts and explored them. Um, when you think about your career, is there a project for you that you were just like, oh, this one, if I could just duplicate this experience and do this and only this or these kinds of projects? And maybe you've talked about it already, but is there one that comes to mind?
There's two, actually.
Oh, Oh.
The first one is was a small Las Vegas elopement company called Electric Sugar Elopements, and they they specialize in alternative weddings, and they were kind of like nothing's off the table, and they wanted someone from the alternative scene who could write authentically in that way. And basically the owner of the business was like, go off, like, you know what you're doing, off you go. And I loaded the website with just give tradition the ring finger and kind of I just went all in, because also I just felt like I'm the only person that I eloped to Las Vegas when I was 25. I
That is
am
awesome.
alternative. I was like, there's no one else that can write that. I was like, I've been there, I've done
Yep.
it. I am the target customer.
That.
And
Oh.
they were just lovely people to work with. It was an all-woman team. It was a subject that I just really love. They were LGBTQIA plus friendly.
Awesome.
And there's not a lot out there for alternative couples as well. So I
Yeah.
really got to sink my teeth into it and just be like, rip up the rule book,
Yes.
marry your ride or die, go hell for leather. I was just really like going hard. And they were even like, oh, we could do a few swear words if you want. I was like, yeah, all right, fuck it,
Hold my
let's
beer.
do it. And what's even better is that I subscribe to Rock and Roll Bride magazine here in the UK, just because I love the pictures. They're fab for
Yep.
scrapbooking.
Oh,
The
hell yeah.
editorial is gorgeous in that magazine, and they have a 1-page ad consistently for Electric Sugar Elopements, and I wrote it, and it's in every issue that I get, and it just makes me feel like the baddest bitch. Like, if I could get more work like that, I'd die happy. So that's the first
Oh,
one.
okay.
The second one is actually framed behind me. You
Ooh,
can't really
okay.
see it. It's a
Okay.
double-page spread from Metal Hammer magazine, and it
Yes.
is about Hellraiser
Ooh.
and how the Hellraiser film inspired metal music. And that was my first print byline for Metal Hammer, having written for their online publication for a while. And as part of that, I got my very first celebrity interview, which was with Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth. And he
Wow.
was the nicest fucking guy the nicest guy you could want to chat to for your first celebrity interview.
That is epic.
Like, we've got his stuff all over our like his artwork, and like my husband's a really
Yeah.
big fan as well. And to get to talk to him about Hellraiser and his friend Doug Bradley, who he's worked with consistently over the years, and then to get to interview Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself, about it.
Wow.
I
Oh my
just, like,
God.
as a horror fan and a metal fan, I just could not believe. And that was when I realized I've got to get out of my head, because
Mm.
this is probably one of the best things I'll ever work on. And I
Mm.
refuse to ruin it for myself by fretting and stressing. And yeah,
Ooh.
and when the magazine came out, I think I bought about 4 copies of the magazine so I could frame it.
Hell yeah. Tell the family, tell the friends. Like, that it's an epic moment.
Exactly. Like, how many people get to say that on my first celebrity interview was Danny Filth?
God damn. I mean, I'm a metal fan as well, and I'm not just saying that as like an interview tactic. Like,
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I've known if you were. I wouldn't have known.
yeah. You never know. I'm such a clean
I
cut
can't see
human.
your records from here.
No, it's more like vintage artwork behind framed watercolors. Do you listen to music while you work? Does music inspire you to write certain kinds of things? Like, what is your process of creativity in music, and how much does it influence what you do?
If I'm working on a new project with a new client, I make a playlist for the project that elicits the vibe I'm trying to get into, because as a copywriter, it's kind of like getting into character. You're almost
Mm.
cosplaying as the customer or as the
Hmm.
brand voice.
Yep.
which has to sound like the customer and talk to the customer. So it's almost like a process of getting into character. And it means that I've got time as I'm curating that playlist to really think. It's almost like creative problem solving, but in the background. I'm
Yes.
thinking, what are they into? What's the vibe? What's the message? What's the feel? And almost getting into the job that way. And then
Mm.
as I'm working on it, because as a freelancer, I hop around on lots of different projects and lots of different client work, or, when it's
Mm.
not a recession, that's what I do. So
Yeah.
it makes it easier for me to get back into character. If I can put that playlist on, it triggers the memory and it triggers the kind of workflow, and I'm able to get into that mood a bit quicker. So there's that. But I also have, I work on playlist curation for Witchology magazine. So I curate
Yes.
a playlist for every issue because every issue has its own theme. So
That is so
music
cool.
plays a huge part there because I like my playlists to feature diverse talent and lots of different types of music. I just don't want a lot of white men in metal
Mm.
bands who
Yeah.
are American. Just it's all the same. I
Yeah.
want that
Literally.
girl that's singing tales about the Mabinogion in
Oh.
Welsh, or that French Canadian band that are death metal and sing about demons. And I want it to be as
Yes.
diverse as possible and as interesting as possible. So in that sense it plays into it, but also I use it to curb my moods. Almost, I've got playlists for all outcomes. If I need comfort, I have a playlist that's called Soul Hug, where it's
That's the
probably just a
best.
lot of songs from the 90s from when I was young,
Hell
and
yeah.
that they're comforting. Or when I need to, when I'm getting ready for a pitch and I need to feel a bit, spicy,
Hmm.
I put a
Oh,
playlist on that's like, let's get in there, fuck shit up, and then leave
yes.
type of a vibe. And then when all else fails, jazz.
Ooh, yes.
I love jazz. Jazz is my ultimate comfort.
That any particular era artist? What's the jazz vibe we're talking?
I really like Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, a lot, and Billie Holiday as
Mm,
well. Um,
classics.
yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm also kind of into doo-wop as well. For some reason, I find that very, very relaxing. Or that
Mm,
kind of vibe like Sam Cooke
mm.
as well. That kind of a thing. I love that. And synthwave. If I need to
Oh,
focus, synthwave all day long.
that. Oh shit! I have a playlist I gotta share with you. I have one that's called Wine, Weed, and Chicken. It's really good, like poolside lounging.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so specific. I love
It's
that. I love
very
it when they're
like three
specific.
specific things. The one I have one on Spotify right now, staycation playlist. Wait for it. I have 8 followers, but there's
Shut up.
eight. Like that's huge. Like Spotify, that's like the equivalent of 100 on Instagram. But you know what's interesting? My other one, 80s as fuck, I believe, has a lot of synthwave. I'm obsessed with it. My wife is like, "Can you please stop with the 80s?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm
I
never
love
going to
synthwave.
stop."
It
um,
reminds me of a time I was barely alive for. I'm like, oh, remember that New York apartment, that New York high rise that we lived in 1984 when we were working on Staten Island? No,
it takes you back. No. Oh
no,
my god.
definitely don't remember that.
Well, I have a couple more fun questions for you
Mm.
because I mean, you made me think of 80 more, but I have time for four because it's late London. I don't want to keep you up too late. But I always ask these questions, and I love asking them because everyone's response is so different, but there's also a cohesion and like a consistency across the board. And I'm going to dive into this one. So if you could create, and I'll alternative educational experience and teach the top three most important life lessons that we don't learn in school, what would they be?
I would teach media literacy in terms of recognizing propaganda, critical thinking, double checking
Mm,
your sources, and understanding that not everything on the internet is accurate. Not everything on the internet was made for you.
mm, mm,
Um, if it
mm.
doesn't apply, scroll on by, babe. Really teaching people, because I think that children
Yeah.
are getting pulled in and believing everything they see. They haven't been taught, you know. I mean, I didn't learn about propaganda properly until
Mm,
GCSE
mm,
history, when they were teaching us actually about the American Civil War and how they would
mm,
use the same photo, but with just different captions. And one side would be like, "Oh, we're winning," and the other
mm,
side would use the same photo and be like, "Look at us, we're winning." And
mm.
it just came down to a caption anchoring meaning to the same image. So yeah, I
That
would
is
definitely
so good.
teach that. I would
Mm,
teach financial planning, personal financial planning, because, for example, I came from a household that was very, very poor. Neither of my parents were very good with money at all. So as soon
mm,
as I started earning my own money, I was making really stupid financial choices because I hadn't been taught how to budget, how to list things out, how to track my incomings and outgoings and how important that was, how to look at where the money's going, simple ways to cut back, simple ways to save, basic things like that. I
yeah,
worry that people aren't being taught those things. And
such a
then
good one.
I would also think some kind of basic talk therapy or feelings, especially for boys, giving boys the environment where they're able to feel safe and vulnerable and share openly with each other and know that that's okay, and know that it's okay to have like physical intimacy with other boys, to hug boys, to be
Mm,
tactile, you know, and to teach um, children how to communicate difficult feelings rather than go to the easy ones like anger when you've
mm,
experienced something complicated. um, I think it would be
mm.
really great if there could be that, teaching them how to articulate how they feel and set boundaries and understand, you know, just things like that. I think that that would be really, really good. Emotions, money, and media literacy.
That, thank you for sharing these. I mean, these are at like tugging on the heartstrings, especially as a father to an 8-year-old. Um, there's a great, not to go off on a tangent, but I will really quick. You ever heard of the Man Cave? It's a company in Australia where they bring this into schools, like
Love that idea.
where it's literally a part, like a program, um, to teach specifically young boys how to actually be vulnerable and share. Anyway,
I
it's one.
love that.
It thought of it when you brought it up. I was like, I. It brings me hope that there's people and initiatives and companies out there that are like, let's do something about
I
this.
think people are starting to speak up about it a lot more as well, because I think men find it
Mm,
much harder to have the same depth of relationships that women have. We have
yeah,
fantastic community with each other, fantastically deep relationships, to the point where we can happily be single because we get such
yeah,
fulfillment through our friends. They're thoughtful, they're caring. We can be tactile with each other. We can have sleepovers and be in the same bed, and it's fine. Like, men
yeah.
don't have that. They rely on their partners for it. And in a way, that's, you know, you can give that if you want, but it's not the same, and it's not really fair to bear the
No
burden of that one person's, you know, entire. It
stuff.
needs to be, yeah, it needs to be shared among a community of friends, I think.
I
Um,
love that's. I mean, it's so true, and it. I mean, I hope that we have thinking about like seeing the way my son communicates. Wife and I joke. I think we honestly hit the kid lotto because he's very expressive. But I think nurturing that environment at home for him, but also it's been mind blowing to see. If you look at the media, there aren't really a lot of examples of male vulnerability,
mm.
friendship. There maybe are in certain movies and TV shows, but man, that's a whole other podcast. But these are really great. I would go to your school. Um, I'd have my son go there.
We'd learn 3 subjects. So
3 way better than most public schools. um, Now to take it into the dark place, because that's where sometimes we find the light. Um, I asked myself this question a very long time ago, and I tend to go to these places because I find they're really great to keep me grounded by venturing into this dark space. So this one, um, if today was the end, God forsake, Emma was in the hospital, and you knew these were your last moments. In this moment, what would be your biggest regret before you passed on?
I wouldn't have any, because I live every day knowing I will die. Death is ever present in my mind all the time. I'm so aware of how impermanent this is. So I am drinking everything in. I am a very sensorial person. I'm a Libra, so everything's romantic to me. If I, in the morning, if it's sunny, which rarely it is in the UK, by the way, I'll go outside, make sure I'm standing in that patch of sun, take that first sip of morning coffee, and really just take a minute to just feel it, because that could be the last time. You don't know when your last sunset is. You don't know the last time you're going to see a loved one when they walk out the door. That could be it. That's happened to a friend of mine. And it knocked the fear of God into me. And now I experience everything in a very present and grateful way, because I know it could all be over in the next second. It could be as soon as that. You really don't know. And I think the greatest cruelty in life that people do to themselves is assuming that tomorrow will be handed to them, because they are pissing their lives away. And that makes me feel panicked for them. Like I watched my mum pass away with so many dreams left unfulfilled. Simple dreams as well. She wanted to go to Canada. It's not difficult to book a holiday to Canada, and she had the money to do it. She just never did it. Simple things that she always wanted to do, never fucking did any of them, because she assumed that she'd get there eventually, and she never did. And I was heartbroken for her, because I thought, you could have had it all. These were not difficult dreams that you had. You could have done them, and you never did. And so that will never be me. I have achieved everything I wanted to achieve and more. I have an amazing husband, fantastic house, a great career. Everything I want, I have it. So if I died tomorrow, I've done it all. Everything I've had past that point is just a bonus. I'm one of those people. I think about death all the time. You have to. You have to.
Because it keeps you present and aware of just how precious life is.
Yeah, or just even the ability to get up and move around if you want to. I could have a horrible accident tomorrow and lose my legs. And then I'd be like, fuck, I wish I'd appreciated it the last time I got to dance and just get up and get something I want, or shower myself, or, anything. Your eyesight could go, your hearing could go, like anything could happen.
Yeah.
This is me, like my overactive, as we were saying, the worst could happen at any fucking time. So just panic, enjoy everything that you've got.
Oh my God.
But I'm just very aware, that there may come a day when I'm too old and infirm to care for myself. And I'll be like, fuck, remember when I could, bend down and put my own shoes on or something? Well, God. These are the days, these are the salad days, aren't they? So I'm just going to enjoy them.
Emma, this is why I love chatting with you, because there's moments where I feel like you're in my brain, but you don't realize it.
Maybe I am.
It's great. Could be. I don't With AI technology, anything's possible these days. I really just thank you for sharing that, because I look at this podcast, right? What I do is I provide an opportunity for people to go as deep or as far as they want to go. And what's ironic is you already answered the second half of this question, but I'll ask it anyway, just in case there's stuff that's like didn't come up. What would be in the same breath your most peaceful thought or realization you've lived a good life? And I believe you kind of answered it, but if there's anything else,
Yeah, it will be that I have lived a good life. I never took any of it for granted. None of it. And everything I ever wished for myself, I did it.
Damn.
I lived well, mate. Lived very well.
And for the record, it comes across clearly. And I think intuitively I tuned into that, just seeing the way you show up. And I know there's a whole journey that goes on behind the scenes and the narrative that we, our internal world, right? But I think the way you show up, the presence that you have, presence of mind, and the intention that you bring this to your work and what you do and the messaging you put out there really shows. So I am very curious to ask you this last question. According to Emma, what does it mean to own your truth?
It means getting out there, doing what feels good and right to you, and not giving any fucks. Because, as Dieter von Teese once said, you can be the juiciest, ripest peach on the tree, and there's always going to be someone who doesn't like peaches. So, own it, and own your mistakes as well. They belong to you. They're yours. They're your learning moment. So don't let anybody out here be like, oh, you got that wrong. Or, I wouldn't have done it like that. Oh, really? Well, fuck you. Go and do it then. Shut the fuck up and go and do it then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyone can leave a comment, babe. Not everyone can go and do the fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's what owning your truth means as well. Remembering that anyone can be like, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, really?